really sending folks is to our Imagine Kalamazoo website. So if you type in imaginekalamazoo.com and you go to the plans page, we have got to scroll kind of halfway down here. You're going to see some information about the community sustainability plan here. And that's a direct link that'll bring you right to the web page. Once you get to the website, you're going to get all the information that you need about the community sustainability plan. If you scroll down, you'll be able to see the plan here. We have a web viewer, so you can click through and read it right from your web browser. If you want to make it bigger, hover down here at the full screen option. You also have the ability to download it as well if you'd like to here. I also want to point out, and we'll talk about this at the end, but we want folks' input. We're asking the community to give us some of their thoughts, and we have some specific questions to help guide you in giving some of that input. And we're going to talk about this at the end, but we have identified in this plan some priorities, some areas that we feel like city staff, departments working with our community should really focus in on the next 2 years. And so we're asking the community to tell us if those priorities make sense, if those seem to reflect the values and what's important to the community. And you can do that online. So you can vote here kind of on what makes sense to you, what you kind of agree with, or what other high priority items you might suggest that the city consider. And then also you can put some general comments. If you have any questions, you can also submit information through this portal. Just make sure to put down an email or some way for us to respond to you. Otherwise, this is completely anonymous. We get sort of a form submittal, but we don't know who sent it to us. So if you do want a response of any type, just pop in an email or a phone number and hit submit. Okay, let me get back to our slides here. So you also have the opportunity, if you would like a print version, if you're someone who wants to see this in print copy, come down to Community Planning and Economic Development Department. We're down at 245 North Rose. That's across from the Kalamazoo Valley Museum. As I mentioned, you can leave your comments online. You're also welcome to drop any comments that you have in writing to the City Hall drop boxes. So you can definitely put your information in that way as well. We are also working on, and you can keep an eye on the website, but getting some other kind of satellite spots, other offices that you can stop into and get and view a public copy of the plan. So I wanted to start out here just talking a bit about how we got here and how we developed this plan. What kind of community input did we use to be able to come up with the plan that the city is out right now? It was really kind of a multi-step process that's been unfolding over the last 2.5 years. So we started step one really in the summer and fall of 2019. Couple of years ago, we had some pop-up engagement booths at different community events, just kind of introducing the concept that the city was going to start this planning process. And this was shortly after the city had declared, or right around the time the city had declared a climate emergency declaration. And so we were kind of hitting the ground running. Our second step really was our kickoff meeting, and we wanted to start getting some specific input from the community. And so we launched a community sustainability survey. We had just over 530 folks submit a survey to us. We did multiple meetings on the go. So these were really short meetings. We went to other organizations, other neighborhood associations, any meetings that we could get to, and just let people know the survey was out there and that we were starting this planning initiative. And then we also formed an early advisory committee, which had some internal city department folks, but then also the majority of the people were just outside of the city community members. And so really it was through that advisory committee that they really led us as staff and said, hey, getting information from focus groups, holding some focus groups and doing some one-on-one consultation sessions with folks who have professional and lived experience in this area, in these multiple areas, is going to be really valuable into informing the plan and telling us what we need to do to become more sustainable, to tackle current and future climate issues. And so we started holding those groups in the spring of 2020 and got a couple of them in, and then had quite the disruption with COVID and quarantine. And so we took a good, I'd say 6 months or so to really get through that and kind of get regrouped. And so in the fall of 2020 and in through the winter, we held our remaining focus groups and continued to do some of those consultation sessions. And then really spent sort of early spring and summer of 2021 in the draft planning phase. We met with multiple city departments and multiple staff and had, various different drafts of action tables and goals and activities, and really asked for staff's guidance on what was possible, what could we get done, what would have to be pushed out, and how could we pull this plan together. In the fall of 2021, we went back to our departments, and we also had some outside reviewers who we kind of called practitioners in different fields, who reviewed our plan and gave us lots of comments and direction on kind of how this final draft should come together. And then fast forward to today, step 6, we have put out, the city has put out their first ever community sustainability plan. It's in draft form, and we're coming out to the community asking again for specific feedback, especially on the priorities that are set in the plan. And then it kind of fell off the page here, but there will be a step 7, and that's going to be taking the feedback that we get in April and May, making any changes that have to happen to the plan kind of based on that feedback, and then presenting this to the city commission, asking our commissioners to adopt this plan. And we expect that to happen probably in early June. So when you spend 2.5 years and you engage all of these folks, you end up with the plan in front of you is rather large. We identified and stated in this plan 10 really visionary goals, sort of vision setting goals. And the whole point here is to get city departments and our community partners all on the same page and really headed in the same direction. And then to accomplish these 10 goals, we've really developed in the plan, you're going to see 29 strategies. So these are specific tactics that we're going to need to use that'll help us accomplish and advance these goals. And then the plan has 81 actions. So these are specific tasks. They will be adaptable over time. They are sort of the step-by-step way that we might tackle and implement these strategies. But we understand that it'll take lots of different staff, different people, different partners, and they may end up getting to that strategy in a little bit different way than we've laid out in this plan. So we have the implementation chapter talks about ways in which we'll do year-by-year evaluations, really understand what progress we've made or haven't, and how we might need to change our actions over time. So here's a bit of a snapshot. The 10 goals fall out into 4 different categories or 4 different chapters. You'll see these in the plan. And the first one here is accessible complete network. And that is really focused on sustainable land use and our transportation network, and how it is that we can make our transportation network greener, giving folks more options than just the personal vehicle, for example. And how it also gets into, how we can help prepare for electric vehicles in the future. And it also talks a bit about our public transit. Metro Transit is not part of the city. They do have a separate board, but they were a close partner who helped us with the planning and were able to give us some of their goals and strategies for this plan. The next one is affordable, efficient city. And so here you can see there are 3 goals in that chapter. It's really all about energy. And this one I would say is the most unique. I think a lot of the other strategies and goals overlap with or complement some of the other plans of the city, but energy is pretty unique. And so it's a longer chapter. It has a bit more detail, but it's looking at how we really can work to make our buildings more efficient, working with the building stock we have, and then thinking about better building standards for our new builds. And then also how we can really accelerate the investment in clean or renewable energy here in Kalamazoo. And then there's some specific goals around decreasing emissions from fleet, that's city fleet, and some of our infrastructure and equipment. The third chapter here is Healthy Prepared Community. And this one is all about community resilience and how we can protect against and adapt to changes in climate, and how to enhance the natural environment and really use nature to address climate change and some of our most vulnerable places and people. And then it's also got a bit about public health, and it's focused in on some of our historic pollutants, lead being one of those big ones, and then future pollution issues that we know we need to be preparing for. And there's a big focus on lead, since the city has some programs and some funding, and we know we have a whole lot of work to do. And so you'll see some of that public health and lead abatement type work in that chapter. And then the last chapter here is Green Circular Economy. I would say this one's a bit new for the city too. It's a lot about how the city can kind of help some of the initiatives that are already happening in Kalamazoo. We have some really amazing partnerships, organizations, groups out there who are doing all sorts of local food initiatives and waste initiatives. And so we tried to really focus on ways the city could support some of those really outstanding initiatives and try to, help make those even more successful. And so it's a lot about waste reduction, reuse, and then again, that local sourcing and really allowing, as much local growing of food as possible. Okay. I wanted to spend just a moment to talk about how you will see and read this plan. So if you get into the plan here, you're going to see what we call summary boxes. And these are going to be embedded in all of the different chapters. Hopefully that's better. And so when you look at these boxes, you're going to see the strategy up at the top, and you're going to see all of the different actions here at the bottom. And I'm not sure why I'm getting this issue. But what I really wanted to point out was this feasibility sliding scale. And so it's giving you kind of at a glance the idea of how really ready to launch is this project, how actionable is it, and or how inspirational it is, how or aspirational is it? How is it is something that we really want to be able to do, but maybe we aren't set up with all of the tools to do it just yet. And so actionable, if you have an item that's more on the actionable scale, it's going to be something that the city maybe has staffing, or we have active partners that are in place who could do this work. In terms of cost, we have funding or dollars available or identified, or the cost is low or no cost. And for that reason, we should and can tackle it right away. And then also timeline is important in weighing into this. Something's really considered actionable if it's got a shorter timeline, if we're set up now with the technology or the policies to get it done. Things that slide more into the aspirational end of the scale, they may need a bit more work on finding a champion or a lead to do that work, or growing capacity at the city. Costs, the dollars to get it done are either going to have to be invested over a long period of time, perhaps haven't been identified yet, or the funding doesn't exist. Timelines for things that are more aspirational are longer, or there's complexity to them. And then in some cases, we found that there are going to be really important strategies that we need to figure out how to get them done, but that maybe we're lacking a technology or maybe a state policy or something that's going to need to change to help us, jump to action on that one. I wanted to just point out to folks that, it's a long plan. And if you're short on time, or you kind of want to get to the meat of this plan, I would really encourage you to head right to the implementation chapter. And that starts on on page 140. And then you're going to see a table like you see up here starting on page 150. And that's our sort of comprehensive sustainability action table. And that really is becoming, is going to be adopted and become our city's work plan over the next 10 years. It's a 10-year plan at this time. And so you're going to be able to see all of the details here. I would encourage folks really to look at this. You can see timelines. You'll get a sense of if this is something that's happening in the first 1 to 3 years, or if it's more of a 3 to 7 year time frame in that midterm. Long term is certainly tasks and strategies that we feel are going to take us 10 years. We're going to be working on them the whole length of this plan. And then we even have an extended category, which we didn't want to lose track of certain strategies or certain actions, but we know they're going to take us more than 10 years. And so when we revisit and update this plan, we'll know to kind of look to those and prioritize them for the future. And then also check out the collaborators column, because I think this can help different organizations, entities, individuals understand what types of collaborations and what types of partners we need to engage at the city to help us get some of this work done. 81 tasks, 29 strategies, that's a whole lot of work. And so the more involvement and the more participation and the more pieces of this that people are able and groups are able to pick up and start initiating and doing, that's going to be a really positive thing. I'll just mention that the implementation chapter, and the reason why I'm sending folks there is that you're gonna see our priorities. So I have those up on the screen here, right? So we have what we're calling our top 6 strategies for sustainability. And I'll talk about those in a minute, but you're going to see these priorities in that chapter. It's going to talk about kind of how we arrived at them. It's also going to talk about how the city is going to continue to evaluate and adapt the plan on an annual basis. And at that sort of in that same process, how we plan to work this kind of things, work these tasks from the table into our different budgets, into our capital improvement plan for long-term implementation. And then I think one of the really important parts at the end of that chapter is talking about what we're going to do at the city to measure and track our progress. So right now you're going to see a list of what we're calling our key performance indicators. It's 10 different indicators that kind of match up with our 10 goals. And those will just serve, again, as that indicator of how far or how well we've gotten certain tasks done. And then the plan also, that chapter talks about how we want to improve that tracking over time and some suggestions for how the city needs to move to really be measuring in a consistent metric and evaluating and making plans sort of in a common language. And I think the plan at this point in that chapter talks about measuring carbon emissions. So I want to just quickly talk about these top 6 strategies for sustainability, because in the activity we're going to do in a couple of minutes, a little bit later on, you're going to be able to weigh in on these. And so again, if you look in the plan, it's going to talk about how we arrived at these strategies. And this was a numeric exercise done by both staff and an outside committee. And we were able to score and rank all of the 29 strategies based on a number of factors that I talked about before, feasibility, and then we also looked at climate adaptation and climate mitigation. And so strategies that seemed to really advance all of those things well and seemed highly feasible got a higher score. And so out of the 29, we had these 6 are our top strategies. You can see sort of what chapter they relate to or come from on the right column there. And so 3 of them, the top one being removing barriers so we can have more solar energy in our community. That one comes from the energy chapter in orange there. The 2 at the bottom are also from the same chapter, that energy chapter. So that's really trying to prioritize retrofitting and weatherizing our existing buildings to reduce energy waste. And then at the bottom there, we think, getting a pilot project for solar in the community is going to go a long way. And it'll help us really live through that experience and learn and then know how we might want to promote that and accelerate that in the future. The other 3 top priorities are all found within different chapters, right? We kind of wanted to spread this out so that we're spending time and growing momentum in all of the areas. And so in terms of the green circular economy, we felt like we had a whole lot of ordinance, zoning code, and all of our policies to review to make sure that we're not somehow tripping ourselves up unintentionally. We know we have some work to do to make sure that folks can be, growing food, composting, doing things where they want to be able to do those. And that's gonna, one of the first lowest cost things that we can do is really go over our ordinances and make changes to make sure those things are possible. The next one there from the number 2 chapter is all about that sustainable land use. So this is encouraging density when we can, so that we're building more housing in areas that have the ability for more density. And then also just thinking about sustainable land use and making sure that communities are walkable, and we're remembering to implement these kind of things as we develop. And so that's one of our other top strategies. The last one here is about that investment in community health, and in particular, those lead programs. We have already some great momentum, but we have a lot of work to do to get lead out of all of our city drinking water supply lines. And we have some great momentum, but we know we need a whole lot more funding for a lead paint abatement program that we're offering to both homeowners and renters in the city. I just want to quickly mention our high priority wait list. There may be things that you think, man, these are like pressing important issues in Kalamazoo and they didn't make the top of the list. And when staff evaluated this, we had the same feeling. These are 4 items, these are 4 strategies that feel incredibly important to the community, but didn't score particularly high on our prioritization framework. And there was a variety of reasons why some of these didn't score very high. And many of them, it's that complexity issue. It's the long-term implementation that we're going to have to do sort of year after year. It's the significant investment and a little bit technology. And so what we also felt though in all of these is that they usually had maybe one low score. And so if something flipped, if something changed, if we had a great funding opportunity and that was the one missing piece, or we had a evaluation done and have an infrastructure plan, for example, for electrifying our city fleet, that we could pretty rapidly, flip over and say, hey, this one easily rises to the top and would be a top priority. And so we're kind of keeping these on our what we're calling high priority wait list for that reason. We don't want to lose sight of them. And we actually want to keep a close eye on them so that when the opportunity comes, we can really, flip and continue to work on those. So with that, I wanted to allow our partners to come forward and tell us a little bit about programs that you all could take advantage of or may want to learn more about. There are definitely opportunities for you to get involved and take action. And they're programs that really got started during our planning process, and I think came about, in some cases, came about because of our planning process. And I think these are great examples of, what we can expect and the kinds of programs that would grow out of a plan like this. So I want to first introduce Mr. Guillermo Diaz, and if you want to put your mic on. I know I need to share some slides of yours, so.
Sure. Well, I'd like to offer my thanks to the group for hosting me this afternoon. Again, my name is Guillermo Diaz, and I'm a program manager with the Consumers Energy Helping Neighbors program. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about how Consumers Energy can help advance your affordable, efficient cities, particularly goal 5 with efficient buildings. So Consumers Energy as a whole represents many opportunities to participate both on the residential and commercial and industrial for energy efficiency opportunities. Today, I'm going to be focusing on the Helping Neighbors program, which really is intended to serve those customers that are most at need. And we identify those customers at 200% federal poverty level and below. So the resources that I'm going to talk about today are really targeted to those members in our society that are need a little bit of assistance, and we'll talk more about that. Next slide, please. So with helping neighbors, what we really, I like to share this with the program, that we want to address the prevention side of the energy usage with the customer. So we're really looking at two components. We're looking at the physical infrastructure in the home. What can we do in terms of upgrades and technology in the house to help reduce the usage? And then the best technology or infrastructure is only as good as how it's interfaced with. So there's an educational component with the residents on how can they adjust their behavioral usage. So those are the two components to try to impact. And we do that with many different ways. As a whole, our program really has two large service arms. So we have a direct service component, which means by way of either technicians that work for the program. We have about 30 across the state of Michigan. We service all the consumers energy gas and electric areas. And so we offer a free home assessment, which I'll talk about more in a moment. Additionally, based off of that home assessment, we work with different networks of trade allies to help us with more comprehensive upgrades within the homes. And again, these are all things that are provided through the program. And in recent years, we've also have been pleased to see that our funding has been more flexible to actually fund some health and safety improvements. So things like carbon monoxide detectors, other things that would be, sometimes you have to improve the electrical in the home in terms of the electrical panel to be able to upgrade the furnace. And so in the past, our funding can only be used to make that furnace more efficient and not for those non-energy activities that do not generate energy savings. So that has been easing through the years, and we have more flexibility to address some of those deferred maintenance items in the home as well through the program. So as a whole, this program does focus more on the single family homes, and that's defined with 4 units or less under one roof line. However, with buildings that are considered multifamily residential, we do have a separate program for that. So if I do have my contact information at the end of my slides, so if there are multifamily projects, I can absolutely make sure that those are, those referrals are channeled accordingly. Additionally, we do understand that we're not the experts when it comes to organizations providing human services or other resources within parts of the community or certain neighborhoods. So we have a lot of our service is delivered through our agency partners. And we work with agencies really 2 ways. One, as a referral source. So you're interfacing with the people that our program is intended to serve. So we can be a conduit for receiving referrals, and we have systems in place to do that. And so we can, you may be helping a customer with something related to, health-wise, providing them some type of service. We can be an additional referral, and the customer, that could be an entry point for our program as well. Another way we help agencies is to really serve as a funding source. So we actually offer rebates for these energy efficiency or weatherization upgrades that you all may be doing within, particular areas. A large organization, or an organization we work with historically for years in Kalamazoo area, is Community Homeworks. And so we've really leveraged our funding with a lot of their projects, and we replaced many furnaces over the years with working with them, and other types of weatherization projects completed as well. And lastly, in terms of working with organizations, we have an outreach team that attends community events. And so we're always looking to partner where we can, and set up a tabling event and look at how we can be a contributor and participate in a positive way with community events as well. Our program is open to homeowners and renters. And that is something that is unique. In the past, there's more, only homeowners could access more of the premium measures, the more advanced weatherization measures. But we do have a process to allow rental properties into the program as well. Next slide. And so just to give a snapshot of how the program, touches various communities across Michigan, particularly Kalamazoo. This is a roll up of the total work that we completed in 2021. Some of the, striking numbers are, in terms of unique customers served, 6,453 customers touched across the state. When we really look at what are some of the more tangible things that we've done in homes, the bigger ticket items are always, HVAC upgrades. So we've replaced over 1,000 furnaces last year, all in single family. That was a record for the program. And I've been with the program now, this is my 11th year, that I've been here. So that's almost 2 times more than we've done any other year. So that was excellent to see, and working with trade ally partners to achieve that, especially almost 766 water heaters that were replaced as well. Many customers that are within that larger total are urgent no heat referrals. So we are getting a referral where a customer, it could be in February, and that home has no heat. That furnace it's run its course and it's inefficient. So it's a very timely intervention as well. Many of those upgrades. Our focus is changing more this year for 2022, and that is to focus more on the envelope of the home. So the building envelope would be, really improving the air tightness, the air leakage of the home. So we're doing air sealing, and also the more insulation. So those are some of the ways that our program is changing. And our services do not require a copay, and they are free for customers to participate in. They are first come, first serve. And so we look forward to diversifying the program in that way as well. Next slide. And so I've included my contact information here directly, as well as the top link that you see is for, you can direct customers to schedule online through our scheduling tool, and they can schedule a home assessment. And we do have virtual or in-person options. And what's nice about that, we do install water saving measures that have the double benefit of, if they're saving hot water, however that hot water is fueled, many times it's fueled by natural gas, there's where the energy savings lie there on the gas side. If you have electric water heating, those can cause benefits there. So the program does provide those free of charge. And in Kalamazoo, we've also been deploying there's a kit that our technicians bring to the home as well, that includes ways that, dye tablets that customers can test and see if they have a leakage in their toilet. and just more educational items about water conservation as well. So that partnership has been going on for, I believe now that it's going on maybe 2 years now. We've been doing that as well. And so we do have a email inbox for agencies as well. We welcome whatever type of organization you're with, from a neighborhood organization to an organization that deals in specialties like housing or any other human service. We welcome just to reach out to us, and we can see how we can work together, even if it's something as simple as we're in many homes. We're in at least 240 homes each month across the state of Michigan. So the ones that are in your communities, we can include literature and that can reach customers. So we welcome those kind of opportunities. So again, thank you for the time, and I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Guillermo. We really appreciate that. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for highlighting the water conservation, the water savings program, and the partnership that we've established there. I've seen a couple of stats out there recently of the carbon footprint tied to water, and especially wasted water like a leaking toilet. So this is all really great stuff. I'm going to stop sharing so I can let our next guest share. We have with us Miss Molly Janis, who's here to talk about the Kalamazoo Energy Collaborative and how we can think about energy efficiency, track, and make our commercial buildings more efficient. Okay, thank you, Molly. I need to make you co-host again since you left and came back. So you should be getting that permission here soon.
Jamie, did we want to take a moment for quick questions for Guillermo?
Looks like Molly's back. That's great. Yeah, Zach, do you have any questions for Guillermo at this time?
None in the chat, but if someone wanted to raise their hand, if they had something specific about the work that Guillermo's doing, then we could make time for that right now.
That's a great point. If anyone has any questions about helping neighbors or the programs that are going on to help with energy auditing, please feel free to type that in the chat. I'm not sure if we have anyone on the phone at this time, but we can certainly, again, if you want to raise your hand, *9. Okay.
So Guillermo, it looks like we have a question from the Edison Neighborhood Association. They say, how can you refer people, or do they just call in?
That's a great question. So there are ways that you can refer people right now by having people either call our hotline or schedule online. But what we would like to do is, if you reach out to me, we do give agencies a promo code because that helps us to better track. And so then when you give referrals, you can have that promo code issued, and then it allows us to track. And then we give you access to a separate online system for more immediate referrals. So someone from the public just couldn't, our agency partners can refer people that, are in those emergency situations that, we move, it's a more expedited track. But again, they're limited slots. So we intentionally reserve a set amount of funding and jobs for emergency referrals from nonprofits.
Any other questions, Zach? Feel free to unmute and call them out if we have any. I think for now, we're going to move on and hear about the Kalamazoo Energy Collaborative. So Molly, as you're ready, feel free to share your screen.
Okay, is that showing up for everyone? Great.
Looks good.
Hello, everyone. I'm Molly Janis. Joining me on the phone are my colleagues, Blake Laginus and Mike Daisy. We all work on the Kalamazoo Energy Collaborative together. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about the collaborative, and to the extent that there are any building owners, commercial building tenants on the phone, or if you know anyone who fits that description, they would be able to participate. So let me tell you about what we're doing. So the collaborative is a partnership between large, around 20,000 foot plus buildings in the city, although that's not a hard and fast rule. The city itself, so we've been working with Jamie for about a year now, as well as Consumers Energy. And the idea is that we have overlapping goals. Consumers, the city, and buildings all want to make our built environment more energy efficient. So, and as you saw, it's one of the 6 top strategies that Jamie and her team identified in the sustainability plan. So we're really, really grateful to be able to share this idea with you today and let you know how you can get involved. So the Kalamazoo Energy Collaborative is around a 5-step process. First of all, to qualify, you need to partner with us with a building, a large commercial building that's within the city limits. So not Portage, not Kalamazoo Township. This is a pilot program from Consumers Energy. And so we limited the geography just to the city of Kalamazoo, which of course is what the sustainability plan covers as well. So our first step is that we will help you complete a virtual assessment of your building's energy usage with our engineers. In fact, we've had 4 properties go through this program already, and only one had an energy assessment period. So it shows that there's a lot of opportunity in Kalamazoo to just have an engineer review your building and your utility consumption and give you recommendations. So that's step 2. You receive your assessment and you learn how to control and reduce what you're spending on energy. From there, we are going to introduce you to the platform we've created for this pilot, which is called My Meter. And you can use that to benchmark your building. I'll tell you a little bit more about what that means in a moment. After you benchmark and can kind of see what the performance is of your building from an energy perspective in comparison to others across the country and in your community, you'll be able to really focus on the actions from your energy assessment that are going to help you perform better against other buildings in the community, meaning you'll have lower energy usage per square foot. You might be able to raise your portfolio manager score. And so we give you the opportunity to join us on this platform to look at your energy usage and also to implement the recommendations from your audit. We can help you sign up for other consumers programs, for example, get a steam trap audit, get into the retro commissioning program, et cetera. And then this is also a recognition program. So in partnership with the city and Consumers Energy, at the end of the year, we're going to recognize buildings that have participated in the program, and especially those who have completed a lot of actions, improved their energy usage profile, et cetera. So I've used this word benchmarking, and it means different things in different industries. So in this case, it's very similar to some metrics that we're used to seeing in particular format. That yellow sticker that is on new appliances or even old appliances that you buy shows you, what's your yearly operating cost and how much energy does this appliance use. Similarly, many of us, if we're looking for a new packaged food, we check out the nutrition label. I want to know, if my kid has an allergy or I'm trying to avoid a particular type of ingredient, or even if I'm just trying to count calories or make sure I get enough protein or fat, I look at the nutrition facts. So what benchmarking is essentially providing that type of quick summary metric for buildings. So you can see in the illustration here, it's almost as though there were an energy guide slapped on your building. The cool thing is that not only will we show you how your building compares to other buildings of a similar function, but we're also using the assessment I mentioned to provide you with recommendations to make it more efficient. So benchmarking is really measuring your energy usage over time in comparison to your own building, as well as to other similar buildings with similar function, age, occupancy, all those things. And from the benchmarking process, you get a couple of useful metrics. One is energy usage per square foot. If any of you have ever purchased a property or worked in real estate, dollars per square foot is a very important metric in that industry. In the energy efficiency of existing buildings industry and practice, energy use per square foot is kind of our key metric. So it's not rocket science. It's actually pretty simple. It'll take you a couple clicks, and we'll work with you to benchmark your building, as I mentioned. So who can participate in this? First of all, this program is completely free to large commercial properties within the city of Kalamazoo. We're currently recruiting 30 properties into the program in this pilot phase. We've done a soft launch with 4 properties to make sure that we have a good customer relationship and that we can get you through the process efficiently. So if you are a large private commercial or large public institution, building, doesn't matter whether it's a single building or a portfolio within the city of Kalamazoo proper, you qualify. And we're not super strict on that 20,000 square foot limit. So if you've got a smaller building or something like a strip mall, commercial office building of 10,000 square feet, we would love to hear from you. We're not gonna, we're gonna take absolutely everyone that we possibly can. What we can't take into the program are single family residential. That's where programs like Guillermo's are a better fit. Industrial, that's not part of our scope, and also large multifamily are not part of our scope. But if you're a tenant, owner, occupant, office mate in a large private commercial or public building, we would love for you to get in touch and participate in our program. So how do you do that? We have a number of different ways for you to get involved. Predominantly right now, we're recruiting the 30 buildings for our pilot. So you can go to our website. I already pasted these in the chat, but it got a little messy, so I'll do it again just as soon as I stop presenting. You can go to kazooenergycollaborative.org and submit a form just saying you're interested, and we'll get in touch with you. You can email my colleague Blake and me at kec@mnce.org. And you can also set up an introductory meeting with us. We have a link to a program that you can just use to schedule a meeting at your convenience. So as I said, I'm Molly Janis, Program Manager for the Kalamazoo Energy Collaborative, and I'm joined by my colleague, Blake Laginus, who's also on the phone, and Mike Daisy, who joins us from another part of the partnership. So thank you so much. I'd love to hear any questions. This is basically in service of the goal or the strategy that Jamie mentioned about making existing buildings more resilient and efficient. And if you wanted to do something like weatherization or no cost, low cost, or even a capital improvement in your commercial building, this would be a great way for you to justify that in a financial sense. So that's what we're here for. And I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Molly. That was a great introduction to that program. I will say the city of Kalamazoo, we just went through our first building benchmarking exercise with City Hall. It was really great to see that you can take an old building like City Hall, a historic building, and it operates pretty well right now, but that there were a number of recommendations that we can get even better performance out of that building. So great program we're looking at and determining what what are our next group of buildings we can send through this program and benchmark and really keep track of them in that kind of close way. Zach, I'll turn it over to you if there are any questions about this program.
Yeah, it seems like Susan Schneider has a question. Susan says, can buildings that aren't in the pilot still get this information?
Yes. So the way that you would benchmark any building would be to collect your utility information and set up a property in the free EPA tool called Energy Star Portfolio Manager. In fact, Blake is new to the team and he's doing that with his apartment. So you can benchmark anything as long as you've got total energy usage and total square footage. You can develop a benchmark for that building and you can compare it to other similar buildings. So I'll write the name of that system in here. What we have is we have access to all of the commercial energy consumption for a couple of years for all commercial consumers in Kalamazoo. So the program's free. Blake and I can essentially benchmark your building for you and then just show you what we found. So if you're interested in that and you don't know if you have time to go through the whole thing, no problem. Please reach out. Thanks for the question, Susan.
Any other questions for Molly?
All right. Well, yeah, if questions come up, please type them into the chat or feel free to reach out to our panelists directly. They're there to answer anything and get you connected to the resources that you need. I have just a really quick announcement. I wanted to talk about recycling in the city because we have some upcoming opportunities, but I also know we're kind of, we're hitting the 6 o'clock hour and we wanted to get your feedback. So we'll get into that next and then certainly leave time for questions and answers. I know I can stick around past 6:30 if folks still have questions. So what I just wanted to make a quick announcement about, just as one of those other opportunities to take action, the city has been piloting for the last year a foam recycling program. So this is that expanded polystyrene foam, often called styrofoam, that is not accepted in our curbside recycling program. We had some fantastic volunteers and champions in the community help us at the city get set up with a partner who would take that waste. And so the city is looking at ways to make that permanent, to continue to work with our volunteers, but really have that be a city-led initiative. And so we have another quarterly foam drop-off event happening on Saturday, April 30th. We also, I wanted to mention that we're at the same time, same event, April 30th, Shupan will be partnering and accepting e-waste and electronic waste at the same time. So I can put into the chat here all of the information on that one, but it is Saturday at Mayor's Riverfront Park. You will see the big mural painted tractor trailer there where there'll be volunteers to take your foam recycling materials and e-waste. And then also I'm typing in the chat here now, if you haven't taken advantage of the city's recycling, our curbside recycling program, it is no cost to all residents. So you can get signed up in the link that I just shared. Okay. With that, I'd like to hand it off to Nolan, who's going to lead us through some ways for you all to weigh in on those top strategies that we talked about earlier.